But in the meantime, President Trump putting economic pressure on Russia as part of an effort to stop the war in Ukraine and telling European leaders to stop buying Russian oil. He's also urging them to put pressure on China, which alongside India is also buying fossil fuels from Russia. The president posting on Truth Social this morning, quote, "Looks like we've lost India and Russia to deepest, darkest China. May they have a long and prosperous future together." This comes just a day after Trump spoke with Ukrainian President Zelensky and more than 24 other European nations to discuss future security guarantees for Ukraine, including a multinational troop deployment. NewsNation's Robert Sherman is live on the ground for us there in Kyiv. And Robert, the two countries still very far from any peace agreement.
Yeah, that's what it seems like here, Nicole. And there's the possibility that this continues on. Even the president has left the door open for that possibility here. We're coming off of the heels of this so-called Coalition of the Willing meeting in Paris, in which you had 26 countries who've said that they would agree to security guarantees for Ukraine, even troop commitments to protect the land, air, and sea of Ukraine if Russia were ever to invade again. That would only be if there's a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. That's an important distinction to make there. The United States' role, still not very clear, although President Zelensky floated the idea that the U.S. could serve as a backstop to protect the skies. But then you have what Russian President Vladimir Putin said today. He's warning Europe that if they send troops to Ukraine, they're going to be viewed as combatants and legitimate targets. Here's the Russian leader.
Regarding potential foreign military contingents in Ukraine, it is one of the root causes behind drawing Ukraine into NATO. Therefore, if some troops appear there, especially now, during military operations, we proceed from the fact that these will be legitimate targets for destruction.
The other element to all of this is that President Trump has told European leaders to stop purchasing Russian oil, to wean off of that, and to put further economic pressure on China, a major trade partner of Russia. This is part of the secondary tariff strategy. Our own Libby Dean pressed President Trump on where the diplomacy goes from here, and he says that he does intend to have conversations with Russia in the future. But you hear his comments here on Truth Social today. Certainly not thrilled about the imagery of China, Russia, India, all lining up side by side. Nicole?
Yes, certainly not thrilled. Robert, is Russia showing any willingness to take on a larger role when it comes to defending Ukraine?
Europe as a whole has made a lot of these indications here that they are prepared in order to do more when it comes to the defense of Ukraine here. I mean, you have even heard some of these countries talk about their need to get off of Russian oil, as well as other security guarantees. I mean, we have seen European troops have been drilling and training for all of this possibility here. But by that same token, the White House is putting pressure on Europe to take more of a responsibility when it comes to defending Europe as a whole and strengthen the region. We've even heard the White House saying that they will be decreasing, or in some cases eliminating, aid to some of these Eastern European countries that border Russia, putting the pressure on them to take responsibility for what's happening on their own continent. Nicole.
All right, Robert Sherman live for us there in Kyiv. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.